Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cinematic Schematic, the official podcast of the Cinematropolis.com. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and we are back at you with more deadCenter Film Festival coverage this year for deadCenter's 20th year. This is really the interview you've all been waiting for. We are talking about a movie that has never been discussed on this podcast, not once. I'm very excited to talk with you guys about this year's breakout sci-fi film from two completely unheard of filmmakers. It's called Shifter, from these guys named Jacob and Zachary Burns. They're newcomers to the film scene, of course, here. So
brand new.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so let's be serious. We are super excited. Longtime listeners of the Cinematic Schematic have heard us talk, I think, in like 5 different episodes where Shifter and the making of Shifter has been spotlighted on the show. And we have actually even talked about the world premiere at Cinequest. We're going to follow up on that conversation here in just a minute. But for newcomers who maybe have not tuned into our audio diaries, first off, all of these are going to be linked in the show notes. So if you enjoyed, either you are very curious to learn more about Shifter, first I say watch the movie as part of the deadCenter Film Festival, which you can do pretty much anywhere, by the way, because this is a virtual event. You do not necessarily need to be on site here in Oklahoma City in order to see the movie. You can get your badges over at the deadCenter website for, I believe it's currently at $100, which is a discounted rate. And I believe you can also buy individual tickets. Firstly, watch the movie. Secondly, we have a whole series detailing the making of the time travel body horror film Shifter, with our good friends and co-founders of the Cinematropolis, Jacob and Zachary Burns. Now, I'm going to give a brief synopsis again for the newcomers who might not be familiar. Shifter is a time travel horror film about a young woman who experiences the painful and gruesome side effect of an experiment with time travel gone wrong that causes her to lose control and shift through time at random.
Whoa.
Subverting. Oh, this is a subversive film. I'm really excited.
Oh, careful, guys.
Subverting many time travel movie tropes and led by a primarily female cast, Shifter is not your typical time travel film. Not only is it a tense horror thriller with scares and gruesome gore effects, but also a character drama that explores themes of depression, isolation, and the dangers of an unchecked hubris. This description is coming at you from the deadCenter website. Joining me today, or rejoining me today, are our co-founders of the Cinematropolis.com, Jacob and Zachary Burns. Jacob, the writer and director and producer of Shifter, welcome back to the Cinematic Schematic.
Thanks for having me, man.
Zachary Burns, producer and marketer extraordinaire, fundraiser extraordinaire, and photographer extraordinaire. Zachary Burns, welcome back to the Cinematic Schematic.
Great to be back, man.
Well, guys, hey. A long time no see. It's good to be talking with you about Shifter again. I think last time we sat down to talk about this on the podcast, you gentlemen were on the eve of your world premiere at the Cinequest Film Festival. Very exciting time.
Oh,
Again,
man, that seems like so long ago.
We've all aged at least 20 years since March. Yeah.
Oh, the before times.
Yeah.
I want to pick things up where we left off. You premiered in, I think, San Jose, Cinequest Film Festival. You're now making your Oklahoma premiere at the deadCenter Film Festival. Connect the dots. There's been a lot of things that have happened between now and then. So we're going to keep things really light, really happy, and positive on the show. Jacob, we'll start with you. And Zach, please weigh in on this as well. What was your experience like at the world premiere? And then how did this pandemic and sort of the effects we saw from that early on impact that world premiere at the festival?
Yeah, it was a eventful week there in San Jose.
That it was.
Yeah, so I can't remember if we mentioned it at all, like in our last podcast, but yeah, obviously the COVID-19 and coronavirus was starting to be a thing. It was just starting to be a thing in the U.S. And so there was some concern on our part, whether, how well the festival is going to do, but it was still on, no one had really canceled too much by that point, especially film festivals. And so we weren't exactly sure what we were getting into, but it was all still good to go. And we had plane tickets, so we might as well go. We kind of were at the festival. We could tell that attendance was down, just kind of the vibe of some of the Cinequest employees and stuff like that it was down, but it was still, there were still lots of people there. screenings where people were coming to screenings and having fun and enjoying cool movies and stuff. So the day of our premiere, South by Southwest announced that it was canceling.
That's always a good sign.
That's when it really hit us that, hey, this coronavirus thing is a real deal.
It's a real thing, and it's not going away. And that was kind of the first big shock for me, at least. That's kind of when it was just like, oh, this is real. This is actually going to like affect lots of things. So then that kind of boosted our fears a little bit. Having that news come out, like, oh man, is anybody going to come to our world premiere tonight? So we had went through those fears all day, but we were very, very fortunate. We had a really great screening time. We were in a really great venue. And then it really, the theater filled up. Like it,
a lot of people,
a ton of people there. And then even better, they liked the movie. So
that's always a plus.
Yeah. You can always kind of tell. One of the things that gives you a clue is like how many people stay for the Q&A, and like most of the people that were there stayed through the Q&A afterwards, which was really cool. And then we both were kind of bombarded with people talking to us afterwards. Like the volunteers at the festival had to kick us out of the theater, basically.
That's always a great sign. Whenever there's volunteers, that means you did it right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, our premiere went great. We were all very excited. Then the next morning, Cinequest announced that it was postponing its second week. So we had more screenings coming up. And so they postponed that week. So like we still haven't done that second week yet. I think they're tentatively planning for August, but who freaking knows anymore?
Yeah. Who knows if that'll happen.
It's just like the production of Shifter. It's broken into two halves. You guys get a break.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. It's part of the theme of making this movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So we ended up just hanging out in San Jose a few more days. We had the room and we were there. So we're like, well, we've never been to San Jose. Let's just explore. And then when we came back, the day we came back was March 11th. And we got off the airplane and we all had, went out to eat that night for dinner. And while we were there was when the Thunder game was called off right before.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then on top of that, I think Tom Hanks announced that he had coronavirus. So that was the night that the whole world suddenly, or all of the U.S. at least, suddenly realized, oh wow, this is real. So yeah, we just barely snuck our premiere and just right under the wire. And then
it was a hell of a trip.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then since then we've had. There was a festival, the NoHo Cinefest, that we were supposed to screen at in LA. They got postponed.
That was going to be in April.
Yeah, April, and they got pushed to September again, all tentative. So yeah, hopefully that goes through. And then from there, festivals have been very. A lot of them have just canceled, or a lot of them have postponed. There's. We just don't know what's going on right now. So then when we got into deadCenter, we were very excited. And they called us up and they're like, we want you to screen at deadCenter. And we're like, great. And then they're like, also it's going to be all virtual. And that was
great.
Yeah, it was kind of a mixed feeling. So I was super excited to play at deadCenter. But just having never gone through this process of being in a virtual festival, it was still very, very, very new at that point. So we just weren't quite sure what we were into. But talking to deadCenter and everyone else and seeing what other festivals have done, I'm actually really excited about it. I think it's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah. I think that's again, I'll probably say this in every interview I do with anything related to deadCenter. I just think it's really impressive as you have some of the world's biggest film festivals totally either postponed or canceling straight up.
Yeah.
You have deadCenter, who is innovating and still finding some really interesting ways to spotlight the filmmakers like yourself and get these movies out there. So I'm really excited that you guys had the opportunity to play your film still, and there is still a film festival to play at. and I know this is going to be kind of a weird question because it kind of ties into the virtual nature of the event, but you had your world premiere in California at Cinequest, big win, very exciting times. But I know that playing a film made here in Oklahoma is going to be a little different and feel a little different. So, you guys are both, of course, well respected here locally in Oklahoma and Oklahoma City film communities. Your film Electric Nostalgia won the best Oklahoma feature at deadCenter in 2016, I believe. So maybe talk with me a little bit about, at least from your perspective at this moment, what makes playing your new movie in your hometown different?
It's definitely it's very different because at Cinequest there was this major fear as to whether anyone would show up beyond there being a pandemic going on. Before that was even a thing we even really were paying attention to. There was definitely a fear of like, we are going to a city where we really don't have any connections. We don't really know anybody. We've never played at this festival before. So
who's going to show up?
Yeah, who's going to show up for our movie? Again, we're very fortunate. Like, it really worked out and was great. But when it comes to something like deadCenter, our hometown, run our, we've just got, this is where the movie was made. So this is where the people that have supported it from the beginning and have been paying attention to Shifter since like the Indiegogo campaign and before are finally going to have their chance to see it. And so there's a lot more like just anticipation that's built up over the last couple of years around here for the film from the Indiegogo supporters or just people, on social media, Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, stuff like that. And then on top of that, you got like the cast and crew and their friends and family. Like, there's just a lot more. It's just a very different vibe, and it's for me, like the screening. No matter what festival we got into, no matter how big it was, the screenings I was going to be most excited about were going to be the ones at deadCenter, because that's what the ones that were going to be where all our friends and family were. So yeah, it's always exciting to play here with anything, just because it's more of a celebration of 2 years of work with everybody that was there with you the whole time. It's more like a party.
Very cool. Zach, I'll throw this one to you, and Jacob, you can add on here. Does the feeling of going virtual, does that dampen it in any way, or do you still have like a lot of excitement for it? Because I do believe we are going to have, assuming things are the way they are when this was announced from a health perspective, there is plans of an outdoor screening across from the Tower Theater on Friday evening, Friday, June 12th. So do you still, with that said, Zach, do you feel like that is dampened the experience in any way, or do you feel like that same level of enthusiasm is still present?
I think there's definitely, just for deadCenter in general, still tons of enthusiasm. I think a lot of people are excited about it, mostly just because the state of the world right now, it feels like there's just a lot of bad news going around. So deadCenter is something we can all collectively be excited about, which is good. I'd say, if there's anything that dampens it, it's mostly just there's a lot of uncertainties, I think, from an audience perspective of what to expect from a virtual film festival. Just because, one of the big awesome things is you're going into these movie theaters that are packed full of people, and you're all collectively watching these movies together, which is just a very unique film festival vibe to it that can really get people excited. So yeah, I think it's mostly just from we're just unsure what to expect from a virtual film festival, because it removes, kind of that big collective all in one place at the same time aspect, and puts it where everybody's just hanging out at home. But an exciting thing about the virtual aspect is that maybe now more people can see it, which is awesome. And it helps, our world is very different than what it was a few months ago. And I applaud deadCenter for adapting and changing with it to, in order to still exist, and in order to still get these films out there, which is awesome. And yes, as you mentioned, there is a outdoor screening of Shifter on Friday, June 12th, which is very exciting. It's going to be, I know they're doing everything they can to keep it safe, obviously, with social distancing and that kind of thing. But that's another thing that is very exciting about deadCenter is that they're still working to try to get those big, everybody all together type screenings as best and as safe as they can, because that is, I think, for most people, one of the most fun aspects of film festivals is all of us cramming together and watching a movie. And so I'm very excited for all their outdoor screenings that they're doing this year to try and still have some of that magic.
Very cool. And Jacob, I mean, from your perspective, outdoor screening, that really, I know we're not using the words drive-in because they're not actually going to be pulling cars in, just to make the best use of that space. But I mean, kind of sounds like a drive-in experience, where you wait until the sun goes down. Everyone's kind of sitting in their own little area. They probably have, I believe there's supposed to be food trucks nearby, so people should have their own snacks and everything. As a film, going to the movies fan, is that pretty cool for you to feel like your film is going to premiere for a live audience in again sort of the outdoor screening or the drive-in style way that a lot of people have a lot of fond nostalgia for? Is that exciting?
Yeah, absolutely. I've never had an outdoor screening for one of my films, and I, my earliest film going experience that I remember was at a drive-in theater in Webb City, Missouri, and so it's very exciting. I never, especially during making Shifter, I never ever considered I hope this plays in a drive-in type setting or an outdoor screening type setting. So yeah, that was super excited when deadCenter first started telling us that could be a possibility. Because again, it was just oh wow, that's going to be, it's different than the indoor theater experience, but it's going to be a really cool, unique experience that we've never experienced for one of our movies before. And so yeah, I'm super excited to see how that plays out, and I hope it goes well. But yeah, it should be cool.
Very, very cool. Well, I know that I'm excited for you guys to play that. And I also feel fortunate I now live within walking distance of this whole thing. So I can walk, find my little parking spot or however they got designated and sit down and watch you guys this movie out there. So
hell yeah.
Very exciting times. And I think it's a really cool opportunity. Again, I just want to say kudos to deadCenter for innovating and not settling for that's the thing, that not only do they not settle for, let's just cancel our film festival, they figure out how to make it digital, but they also thought about how can we find safe ways to recreate that experience with the resources we have. And I think they just have done a tremendous job. Now, so again, for those of you who are tuning in, this premiere is going to be, that is Friday, June 12th. I understand it is at sundown, so I would get there about an hour or so before sundown to make sure you can get a spot and that you can get your snacks or whatever, or maybe you bring snacks. I don't really know exactly how that setup works, but just come prepared a little bit early so you have your own spot to be plugged into. So now on that note, though, let's talk a little bit more about the virtual experience specifically. Now, you've already talked about this is your first virtual film festival, as probably for many filmmakers. I know that you guys have several times that you'll be playing, and it's a little more on demand, not fully on demand, but a little more on demand. So here's what I've got according to the deadCenter website. Your film will be available to people with a pass on Friday, June 12th, between 5 p.m. and June 13th at 2 a.m. So you've got about looks like 8-hour window of time you have available then. And then again on, looks like Saturday, June 13th from 10 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. So basically the whole day. And then again June 14th from 10 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. So for basically that first weekend of the film festival, you guys are going to be available on demand during the normal hours, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit like how does this preparing for this go? But so there's not gonna be any audience Q&A, at least not live. So how are you guys? How have you guys adapted to this virtual process? Like, have there been are there gonna be interviews that'll be before or after the film? Like, will you guys be live streaming that? What does that look like for audiences who want to continue to engage with the film outside of just watching it?
Yeah, it's really cool. So yeah, like you said, it's gonna be a little more on demand than you would expect from a film festival. So anytime within that time frame, if you've got a festival pass, or I believe once the film is live, you can buy individual tickets. So you could buy just a ticket for Shifter or any of the other films if you want it. But yeah, so what deadCenter has done, they've also got a ton of things up beyond the movies. There's a ton of like panels, and I think they've got some like almost like classes and stuff like that you can set up. Like there's like a class with Tony Marlowe, who's a local hair and makeup artist, and she's gonna like do a session on like, here's how you get into that if you want to get into hair and makeup. And so I know deadCenter's got a ton of stuff like that planned. And then for the films, we actually the other day went in ahead of time and have recorded a Q&A. So Mickey Reese, another filmmaker around here, kind of moderated and did a Q&A with me and Zachary, and we just recorded it the whole time, and then that'll just be up on the site, on like the Shifter page on the deadCenter site. So after you watch the movie, then you can watch this Q&A, and we've also got like an intro. I recorded the special intro for the movie and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think most of the movies are doing something similar to that. And again, like I think one of the best things that deadCenter did was, once kind of this pandemic stuff started happening, they were one of the earliest festivals to say, we're just going to go virtual. Like, they didn't really consider postponing. They didn't consider canceling. They just immediately said, let's just go virtual. And so they've actually had a lot of leeway time ahead of time to really plan out and try to make this something really cool and special. And so I know they've got lots of cool stuff planned. So yeah, it's cool.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for giving us the breakdown of what it's almost like. In some ways, it's almost like having a Blu-ray of Shifter for a limited time, because you can watch the movie and then you get all the special features.
Exactly.
It's true. Yeah.
You guys remember special features when those were a thing? That's great. I love that.
Right? Yeah.
Man, I miss those.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so I'm going to close out here. Two questions.
Mm-hmm.
One I would like for both of you guys to answer, which is what, outside of course, your own film, what are you most excited to see at deadCenter this year? Zach, I'll start with you on this one.
Well, first, I have to plug something that I also made. Aside from Shifter, I actually directed a short film that is also included in deadCenter this year, playing as part of the Okie Shorts mixtape Volume 2 block of shorts, I believe. And my short is called Home Sweet Home. It's a spooky little horror comedy starring Ashley Mandanis, and she does a great job. So watch out for that. But definitely just always, there are literally so many Okie shorts this year, which I think is another benefit of the virtual film festival, is that deadCenter was actually able to include more films than they normally would. And so props to them for fully embracing that, to be able to highlight more movies, because I know they get literally thousands of submissions every year. So really just watch every single Okie short that there is, because there's always something great in there.
The Okie Shorts blog, I will say, pretty consistently, I've been to this festival for the last 6 years, and I've been covering it for 5 every year, and it always feels like a really strong showing in general. But every year I'm like, man, I feel like these are like stronger than they were last year, even though the year before, like every year it's like that. You're like, these are really strong. And then it really, I think, is showcasing a lot of the really impressive up and coming talent we have here in Oklahoma. So that is awesome, Zach. Thanks for giving that a shout out. And unlike Shifter, I have not seen your short film yet, so I will have to check it out. Jacob, what are you most excited to see at deadCenter this year?
Yeah, a few things. So, one, there's a film that I was cinematographer on called She's the Eldest. It's a feature film debut of Kate Jones, who prior to that was mostly an actor, and she acts in that movie as well. But it's a really cool, kind of quirky dramedy with a little bit of a supernatural element to it. And so it was a really, really fun movie to work on as a cinematographer.
Yeah, She's the Eldest. I have seen this whole film, and it is very good, and I highly recommend people check it out. In addition, if you enjoy Shifter and you want to support the local film scene here, Kate Jones is a great talent. She's been doing acting for several years, and I was very impressed by her first feature. All right, gents. I've said this like 3 times, but I want the people to hear it from you. When and where can they see Shifter? Last reminder for you, the listener. If you haven't written it down yet and you're curious, write it down now. We'll not say it a 5th time. Jacob, where and when can people watch Shifter as part of the dCenter Film Festival?
So the outdoor screening will be on Friday, June 12th. It'll start at sundown. Whenever the sun goes down, they'll start playing the movie. That'll be at the Tower Theater in Oklahoma City. That is one detail is that's a pass holder only event. So you'll need a dCenter pass to get into that. And then to watch the film virtually, you go to deadcenterfilm.org, I believe it's their website. And you can, if you have a pass, then you'll have access to the movies through there, starting on Friday around 5, and then essentially mostly being available through the rest of the weekend through Sunday around midnight. You can watch it. It's basically on demand, so you just watch it whenever you have time within that time frame. And then you can buy individual tickets for specific films, but you can only do it in the time that the film is live.
All right, very cool, ladies and gentlemen. This has been our latest talk on Shifter. That is a time travel horror film about a young woman who experiences the painful and gruesome side effects of an experiment with time traveling gone wrong. I have seen the film, highly recommend, check it out. I'm also a sat for time travel movies, so take that with a grain of salt. But gentlemen, Jacob and Zachary Burns, as always, a real pleasure to talk with you. Happy film festival, or I guess I should say, happy dCenter. Hope to catch you around the festival.
Thank you, sir.
Heck yeah.
All right, everybody. So I just want to remind you, of course, you can head on over to the cinematropolis.com if you want to find more coverage of the 2020 dCenter Film Festival. We have more interviews and reviews coming up from Daniel Bokemper, Christopher Schultz, and Joe Light. I think Joe's going to be doing some written interviews as well. So you can find all of that and more over at the cinematropolis.com. You can also keep up with all these posts as they go live on our social media channels at facebook.com/the Cinematropolis and on Twitter at the Cinematrop. Check it out. Stay up to date. Catch some good movies at dCenter. We'll catch you again next time.